All right, welcome to the Chazz Palminteri Podcast. New show out right now, obviously, 11 a.m. on Monday. Every Monday, 11 a.m. is a new show. And I got to tell you, next week, October 1st, I will be at Town Hall in Manhattan, 123 West 43rd Street. I haven't been back on Broadway in 15 years. 15 years is when I first... I first did the one-man show in 1989. Obviously, you know all that story. Robert De Niro saw that. That's how the movie got made. Then I brought it back to Broadway in 2007, 8. I mean, so October 1st is going to be a great show. This is the first time in 34 years. I'll be doing a Q&A with the audience. So the audience is going to be able to ask me questions about the play, the movie, the musical. I'm going to tell you intimate stories, how it all happened. I got some surprise guests coming. I can't say who they are, but we're going to have a great time. I can't say who they are because in case they can't make it, I don't want to say who they are. So don't call me a liar. But we got a great time. Now, after October 1st, you got to be there. I got October 8th, Springfield, Massachusetts, at the MGM Casino. Come on, all these big whales who follow me in Vegas and Atlantic City. Come on out there. The MGM Casino. Do a little gambling. I throw the dice. Remember me in Bronx Tale? Ask me. I'll throw the dice for you. All right? October 9th, Boston, Massachusetts. The Emerson Colonial Theater. Love Boston. I'm a Yankee fan, so calm down. But I do love Boston. Okay? The Emerson Colonial Theater. That's the 9th of October. October 23rd, I'm in St. Charles, Illinois. Chicago, I love. Arcadia Theater. Rado Nesti runs a great ship there. Arcadia Theater. Come there. And let's see, November 6th at Long Branch, the Monmouth University Center for the Arts, New Jersey. Big show. 2 big shows the next week. The 11th and 12th of November in Pittsburgh, the Byram Theater. 2 big shows that I've never appeared in Pittsburgh before. Bill Mazeroski, I still can't stand the guy, but it's okay. And, of course, 11/19, the Richfield Playhouse in Richfield, New York. If you want to know where I am, because new dates come, I'll be at a city near you. Go to ChazzPalminteri.net for tickets. Go to ChazzPalminteri.net.
It's Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Richfield, Connecticut. I didn't say that?
You said New York.
I said Richfield, New York? Thank you, John. John, thank God he's here. Richfield, Connecticut. And don't forget to go to my website. Saddest thing in life is wasted talent. My father wrote this. It's not my line. It's my father's. I wrote it. I put it on in my room. He put it in my room. And I try not to waste my talent. And I attribute this to be my success. My kids, I put it in their rooms. They're big successes. My son graduated Berkeley from Boston. My daughter is a junior at University of Michigan, top musical theater program in the country. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. A photo, you can get these on my website if you just don't want the card, if you want this. Also, this is one of the original posters from the original show back in 1989. You believe this? You believe this? You could pick this up on my website. If you want a shout out, if you want me to do a video for you, your friends, whatever, go to my website. I do them. I teach a master class. If you want to come and see it, come to see it at one-on-one in New York City. Call one-on-one in New York City for my master class. I do twice, 3 times a year. All right. So I am really excited about today's guest. Why? I cannot explain to you how I am proud of this guy. This guy, and I'm going to introduce him right now. You know him. You've seen him in everything. He works constantly. He's a friend of mine. We casted him, De Niro and I cast him in Bronx Tale. He was a 17-year-old kid. And I tell people this, he had the smallest part in Bronx Tale and became the biggest star of all of them. All of them. My friend and a great, great actor, Domenick Lombardozzi. Lombardozzi. I said it correctly.
It happens all the time.
That's okay. Dom, I am so excited for you to be here. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for I don't know how long, but I can't get you because you constantly are working. And knock on wood, thank God. And you know what? It's not an accident. For those of you who don't know, okay, he's been, let me just give you some of the things he's been. I have to, God. He's best known for the A&E television series Breakout Kings. You played Ray Zaganelli?
Ray Zaganelli.
Zaganelli, okay. Tony Salerno. Tony Salerno, Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. That's right. This is him, right? You were the firefighter in Judge Apatow's The King of Staten Island,
right,
on HBO. I mean, The Wire. How long were you on The Wire, Dom?
I did all 5 seasons.
All 5 seasons. Yeah. And you played Ralph?
I played Herc.
Herc, that's right. And you were on Entourage as Domenick, Broadwalk Empire. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But you know what? Let's go to the beginning.
Yes.
How the hell did you get? I mean, so many people were trying to get into Bronx Tale at the time. You were 17 years old. Tell us how it all happened.
I was
how
actually
you got
more
kicked.
like 15, 16 years old.
You were 16?
Yeah, roughly, around there.
Tell us.
That was 91.
How did you hear about it? What happened? How did this happen?
Well, first, thanks for having me here.
It's my pleasure.
This is huge for me. You know, I always put you in a different box than everybody else. But Marco Greco had the Italian American Playhouse.
That's right.
In Arthur Avenue.
Right.
And so all these kids would go in. And
yes.
Like people were coming in from every borough and
right.
everywhere. And Mike's Deli, Dave, like, telling my mom, he should read for this. He should read. So it got to the point where you started by signing your name and they took a Polaroid.
Right.
Then it eventually dwindled down, take a Polaroid, smile, look that way, look left, look right. I mean, it just went on and on and on. Then they kind of narrowed it down to the kids who actually knew how to read. Then they made you read some stuff. I was blonde hair, blue eyes.
That's blonde hair, blue eyes.
Blue eyes. Did not, and I'm first generation American.
Right.
And then it just eventually, now the role at that time was Nikki Four Eyes.
Nikki Four Eyes, that's right.
And went through the whole process, the whole gambit. And then it came to the point where it was, they want to see you in Tribeca.
Right.
Didn't meet you. I haven't met anybody else
right.
other than the people that were facilitating everything.
Right.
Right. Get there. And Bob is on the phone, similar office like this, maybe a little smaller than this. And this is a big room, guys. So Bob was on the phone in the desk.
He's always on the phone.
Okay. Yeah. So now I remember waiting, and I'm looking around, and I never been to a place like this, you know, let alone an office building in the city. And
you were like 15.
Around. I was young. I think maybe Marco Greco took me there.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah, let that ring.
And I'm looking around. I'm like, wow. And then they called me up, and I walked up the stairs. You opened the door.
Yes.
And this is what you said. Hey, kid, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm Chazz. De Niro's on the phone in the back. You're like, are you ready? You know, you want to read this? You know, you want to do anything? And I wasn't being cocky because I was a shy kid. I still am a little shy.
Right.
And I said, no, I got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I did it without looking at the sheet.
Right.
And did it in front of De Niro. Did it maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe. And I don't know if you slapped me in the room. I'm not sure if you did, but I think you did hit me, but you didn't hit me nowhere near as fucking hard as you hit me that night.
Yes,
I could tell you that.
I'm known to slap
fucking
actors
cold
that
night, too.
I know.
It was cold.
But I had to. Because, you know, with Bob, and Bob is like, well, was Chazz. We got to make this real.
Let it go.
I said, he said to me, kid's a tough kid. He can handle it.
It was a lesson learned very early on.
But I could see by, your emotion, look, I had to slap the hell out of Lilo.
Yeah.
Slap the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, you were young kids. You didn't know how to bring up. as actors, the rawness of the realness of being scared and being slapped.
Totally.
So,
We're street kids.
but you're street kids.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But I remember,
And then I got the part.
You got the part?
I got the part.
well, your accent and your you know what it was? I remember Bob saying, looking at me, I remember him saying something like, yeah, all right, so, okay, he's good. Like, there was a realness because you were real. You were from that neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was
From that neighborhood.
You were from that neighborhood.
Yes.
And there was like, your accent was spot on, was right on.
Yeah.
You had a heavy, heavy accent. It was like, fucking elephant. Or what was
Yeah.
the line? That was an ad lib I know you did.
Yeah, an elephant driving the truck and an elephant stop
This is big
a
enough for
truck
Yeah.
and the elephant too, some
And
shit
the-
like that.
And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
And as look, we always talk about that. Scorsese, De Niro, and myself. I always, as a writer and as a director, I always say, look, you want to ad lib something, go ahead. If it's better than what I wrote, say it.
Mm-hmm.
Say it or add that in. Do it. You was somebody who's real. You were so real and so innocent but tough. You had that thing about you. You were innocent but tough and real. And that was, I remember, I know Bob responded to that immediately, and so did I. And I mean, obviously, look at your career. Jesus.
Kind of happened again on the Irishman with Bob.
Yes.
It did. I remember putting myself on tape for the casting director,
Right.
and made me read 2 different roles. I said fine. I left.
Yeah.
Then they call back. Don't cut your hair. Whatever,
Yeah.
something's brewing, but don't cut your hair. Fuck. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna cut my hair. 2 weeks goes by. 3 weeks. 4 weeks. 5 weeks.
You didn't hear from them.
And now I'm starting to look like Burt Young from fucking Rocky.
Yeah,
This is
right.
the summer. I want to take my hat off. It's
Yeah.
like ridiculous. And I told my manager, Michael Garnett, why don't you give him a call, see what's going on? Maybe this is dead. I mean, I can
Yeah,
shave my
you want to
fuck-
know.
Maybe I could shave my head now.
Yeah.
And they want to see you Monday. I said, okay. So I go see Marty and Bob. I think Marty might have been cutting something, so it was at a sound stage somewhere.
Right.
And so Marty's there, Bob is late, and Marty, we start talking about everything except the part. We're talking about films, we're talking about Billy Wilder, we're
Right.
talking about the transition of film like before Brando
Right.
and all that stuff, and which I could talk for days about
Yeah.
that.
So I love that stuff.
And then Bob comes in, sits down, gives me a hug. Obviously, I work with him on The Family. I worked with Bronx Tale. He remembers me.
Yeah, sure.
He acknowledged me like he knew me for
Of course,
all those
that
years.
Bob does know you. Yes.
And we're sitting down, and Marty goes, well, we're thinking about this role. I said, that's great because I've done my research already, how he sits in a chair.
Salerno.
Salerno.
Yeah.
I knew everything about him. And I think the other character was more of a fictitious kind of character,
Right.
just implemented into the script, right?
Right.
So, and this Bob. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. That's what it is. Okay. Yep. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, like we're done. Okay, like I got the part. Like
Right.
what? Okay. Okay, like what?
Yeah. Right.
Gives me a hug. He goes, somebody will reach out to you. He's whispering. I don't know why he's whispering because Marty's right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And
You
and
left.
same fucking thing. I'm on my way. I left. I'm on the West Side Highway, and I got the part.
They called you.
Same thing as Bronx Tale.
Wow.
Same thing. By the time I got to my mom's house, they had called my mom and left a message there saying
Yeah.
I had the part.
Did they do a screen test on you? With
Nothing.
dressed as Tony Salerno?
No, nothing.
Nothing. Wow.
Which was always strange to me because they were aging everybody down, and I was one of the only people that were
Aging up.
aged up significantly.
Yes.
significantly heavy makeup, 2:30 in the morning in the makeup chair.
Wow.
Nobody got aged up that high. Everybody. So I'm like,
Chris Salerno was what, 70s, late 70s?
yeah, but they play him from like 70 to his mid 80s till he died.
Yeah.
And so there was like 3 different stages.
Right.
And I got to work with Pesh. I got to work with.
Right.
I mean, I
Oh,
always.
you were great at it. I saw it.
Always put Pesci in. You called me.
Yeah, I saw it. It was
called me.
great. You were great.
You were one of the first people to reach out to me.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I saw it in the very beginning. Bob called me and said, you like to see it, and I came to see it early. I loved it. Look, I love that stuff. You see, I love that stuff that just tells about how the way things happen. I love long movies. I love movies that are very interesting. I sat through it and I loved it.
I don't have a problem sitting through a 2.5 hour
Oh,
movie.
3 hours.
I have no problem
I got
at all.
no problem. I love the movie. I really did. I called Bob too. I said, Bob, wow, it was terrific.
Yeah, they did a great job.
They did a great job.
They did a great job.
And
we were speaking off camera here
right.
before, just the little nuances I saw after working with Marty, and then my recollections of working with Bob
Right.
almost 30 years
Prior.
was he adapted the same philosophy of
Same.
well, let's see where you're comfortable. Let's not stray too off of what the story is, but
Right.
let's see what
where
makes
you're
you comfortable.
What makes you comfortable? You always
He
want
wants
the
you
actor.
to play.
Right. I mean, I learned directing, obviously from watching Marty's movies, but from really the first time I worked with Bob was so closely. I saw the way he was, and he was so open to the actors, and so like, let's take from them. Let's see what they have. And it was great because look, he loved my script and my script. But if they could say do a little something adding on to the script, you do it. I think all the ad libs that you did in the thing.
Yeah.
You stuck to the script, but you also did ad libs.
In the
In Bronx
Irishman.
Tale. No, in Bronx
And I
Tale.
did it in the Irishman.
And you did it in the Irishman. I think, well, because you know the world.
Right.
You grew up there with these guys.
You got to do your homework.
There's things that you say. Yeah, Sean, you had that accent, fucking elephant with a fork. I mean, you can't fake that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. There's nothing worse than a fake New York accent. Oh,
One of the hardest things to do.
but the Brits always say it. The Brits always say one of the hardest things to do is a real New York accent. I think I've seen maybe a couple of Brits.
Stephen Graham is incredible.
Stephen Graham. I saw Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
And I worked with Tom Hardy.
Oh, Tom Hardy. I
Tom
mean, these
Hardy
guys, they're like chameleons.
I'm talking about 3 of the best today.
Yes.
But I've seen some other people do it, and I'm like, whoa, calm the fuck down, because it's just bad. It's bad, but you were so real, Dom. I mean, so Bronx Tale exploded you. Then you did your second movie with Tony Vitale.
The great Tony Vitale, who I still talk to today. Still
Yes.
have a great relationship with him. I believe at that time he was the location manager on a Bronx Tale.
But he was a writer, yeah.
Was either finishing his film
Right.
studied at NYU
Right.
and whatever, and he wrote this script, this comedy kind of off the wall kind of comedy.
Way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
Maybe that was the problem.
way,
Too
way,
ahead of its
way.
time.
And it did the movie, fell in love. Bronx Tale got my foot in the door. But it was Kiss Me Guido that actually made me fall in love with acting.
Wow.
Because I was older. I understood. I watched what people were actually
How much
doing.
older were you?
Oh.
Was it a few years after?
Yeah. It was like 4 or 5 years later.
Was that long after that?
Yeah.
Wow.
By the time that movie, we did tons
Yeah,
of
Bronx Tale was
reading.
93. Kiss Me Guido was 97.
Yeah.
Wow. Joey
Significant
Chips
difference.
you played. Wow. And he got you an agent?
She got me an agent. She handed me her card. It was Writers and Artists at the time. Handed me the car, said, call me tomorrow. And I had an agent.
And you worked
And then I
like crazy after that. Side Street, Just One Time, For the Love of the Game. You were in
Yeah, the yards.
The Young Girl and the Moonstone. Wow. I mean, you went on a roll.
See, a lot of those movies you just rambled off.
Yeah.
Those were movies that were independent movies. When independent movies were really independent movies.
Yeah.
You know, now they'll call a $20 million movie an independent movie.
Exactly.
Could have made a masterpiece with $20 million back in the 90s.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we're talking about Kiss Me Guido that was made for $800,000.
Yeah. And I
got
really liked that
Paramount
movie. That was a funny
distribution.
movie.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was heartfelt. I thought Tony did a great movie. You know what? I'm
He
surprised.
modeled that kind of what you were doing with the Bronx Tale at the time.
Right.
Where you had this great template.
Yeah.
And, well...
Was it a play first?
That's the only place it didn't, but he tried to go to the TV, tried to do the musical.
Because it could be a great series. It was just before its time. It was just way before 1997.
They did try to make it a series, but now it would fly. People would understand it. People would gravitate towards it.
Could be a good musical too. You know, I'm surprised Tony didn't write more and direct more.
He did. He did.
Okay.
You know,
He's
Tony.
a talented young man.
Tony has a lot of material in the arsenal.
Right.
It's just, as you know, it's really difficult getting people to read it.
It's hard. Yeah.
But he has it. So anybody who's listening to this, you should call Tony Vitale because he has some really good stuff.
Yeah, Tony's a wonderful writer and a wonderful director. Shout out to you, Tony.
Yeah.
Good guy. And he was a terrific location manager, too.
Just a terrific guy.
Terrific guy.
Just a terrific guy.
So Bronx Tale, Kiss Me Guido, boom, you go off on a tantrum. You're in all these other movies. But it's an interesting thing you told me. When you did A Bronx Tale, when did you have to join SAG? I think was your mother.
After.
Was your mother said no? Use the money. We're going to join SAG.
Yeah, I think I had one full day of work,
right,
or 1.5 or whatever, and I had made that whatever that SAG low budget was for that, and she took the money and I joined the union. Wow! And I was eligible for SAG, which is later on I realized, holy shit, it's difficult.
Holy shit. Difficult? People don't realize how hard it is to get into SAG.
You're not gonna get a SAG card with a whiskey bottle.
No,
that's not gonna happen.
You're not gonna happen.
You know, it's not like
here's the dilemma. You're not gonna get a job unless you're SAG.
Yeah, it's not like
you're
Local
not gonna,
79.
You're not gonna become SAG unless you get a job. So it's like you just have to do one of these movies where the director goes, I don't give a shit. He's not SAG. Fuck it. I'm putting him in the movie because you have
to
to.
Give him his voucher. Yeah.
He has to be a voucher because he has to say, I looked at everybody else in the union and I'm willing to go against the union now and explain to them, I got to have this guy. So it's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard. It's really
dangling a lot of cords. It's
you
not easy.
Dangle, and
it's
you
not
realize
easy.
when you got old, they said, holy shit.
Because, you know, you're on it. And I've gotten people SAG cards.
Yeah, so have I.
Gotten
Many.
some of my friends some CAG, you know, they were extras.
Yeah.
And whatever show was on, the show, like, put them in the background and stuff. And then, you know, you do it enough times and you earn these vouchers.
Right.
Which is still a difficult way of getting it.
Very much, yes.
You know, and that's the number one question that's always hard for me to answer.
What's that?
And I'm sure you get this all the time. How did you get into this? And it's always a tough question for me because it's unorthodox.
Well, it's unorthodox, but what I tell people is, in your case, is you're a young kid, you audition, and you caught a lucky break that we picked you. But
it was an open call.
It was an open call.
Yeah.
But there were a few other kids who got that open call, and they never did anything else. They did Bronx Tale, and they never did anything. Then you had other kids who had really good parts. We know who, and squandered it.
Yeah, super talented too.
Super. Oh,
Super
I've always said to
talented.
people, super talented. Could have been a huge star. Could have been Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, he could have
Easy.
been. He was that good of an actor, this kid. But he wasted it and threw it away. Now, then again, look, not to get into that. I hear he's getting his life together. God bless him, and I hope
He's
trying. But
he's doing more than trying. He's succeeding.
That's
He's
good.
doing really well.
But-
he's helping a lot of people.
well, that's good. If he's helping people and tell now, because that is success is a window. You got to go through that window when it's open.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, you had the smallest part in Bronx Tale, and you became the biggest star of all of them. You did. Look, say what you want. You're the most successful of all of the kids from Bronx Tale. Well, Joey D'Onofrio, Joey does very well too. Joey D'Onofrio does well, but you have been incredible, and I always bring you up, and I'm always so proud of you. And this is hard work and discipline. I mean, staying away from drugs. Look, we all had our thing, but you're disciplined. You do your work, Dom. You're serious. You come to work prepared. You show up on time. Here's the thing of a guy. What do I always tell you, everybody, when I do the classes on success? The man shows up. He showed up for the call. Probably waited online with I don't know how many God knows kids. He got in. He kept
Went
going.
around the block, man.
Kids were around the block, but he waited online. He had determination. Then he finally got a chance to read for us, and we brought him in. Yeah. And then from that, he waited 3 or 4 years later to get another part in Kiss Me Guido. Did that. Had a love for acting. His mother was on his side. Said, "Look, use the money for SAG." And look where he is today.
And I missed the softball game.
You missed the softball game. That's all right.
The league. The softball league.
Yes.
In the neighborhood.
Yes.
I missed.
Well, hey.
Worth it.
So it was worth it. Changed his whole life.
It did change my life.
Changed his life, his career. He's getting married soon. He's got a fiancée. You own a home up here.
Yes.
Look at your life.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look, folks, this is a success story. From showing the fuck up. He showed up for his thing. Did Kiss Me Guido. Got an agent from that after somebody saw him and kissed. People don't knock on your door, folks, and say, please, we want you to star in our movie. It doesn't happen. You got to do plays. You got to do independent movies. You got to audition. You got to go to school, go to class, do the best you can, but you got to get out there. Only the people who show up really get ahead. Your network is your net worth. Remember that. I mean, Dom, what would you say is the work you're most proud of all the movies you did? That's your favorite.
Oh, wow.
I know that's a hard question.
It's a super hard question.
It's like children. You love.
There are characters I liked.
Yes.
I loved I've been fortunate enough to work with so many talented people.
Right.
And who I still have relationships with.
Right.
20 years.
How was your years on The Wire? Did you enjoy that?
Great.
5 years.
5 years. It was my first.
Series.
I got lucky with that. That's another luck.
Yeah, how did you
thing.
get that part?
Audition.
You auditioned.
Lexa Fogel went down. Auditioned for Lexa Fogel at that particular time. Herc and Carver, which are these two narc cops.
Right. They
in
were
the show.
real cops?
Yeah, in the show.
Based on, okay.
Not based on anybody
Oh, okay, I got
significant,
it.
but it was a recurring role.
Right.
Went in, I got it. Bob F. Colesbury was a producer on that with
Right.
David Simon.
Right.
And Bob Colesbury, I had just finished working with on 61, who produced 61
Right.
with Billy Crystal.
Right.
I went in, I read, I got it. I'm off to Baltimore. We shoot the pilot. The show gets picked up. The part becomes a regular.
Wow.
And that was my first job after 12 years from joining SAG, 12, 13 years, something like that, where I didn't have to
Worry about work.
where I didn't have to pour concrete, lay asphalt, get jobs where I just had to walk away because they wouldn't let me out for an audition. So I was like, screw you, I'm leaving. And then I would just get another job another day and another job another, you know.
You hear that, folks?
But that was my first. I felt like a working actor.
5 years. I mean,
5 years on that show, and to David Simon's credit, and Bob, we lost Bob, I think, after the second season.
Right.
God rest his soul. But David Simon, to his credit, had to go and pull the rabbit out of the hat just to keep that show on the air.
I mean, I've heard people say to me, it was the greatest show on television.
Yeah, it's in its
classic.
own little thing, you know. I mean, you have to understand at that particular time you had giant shows. You had The Sopranos, you had
Right.
Sex and the City, you had 6 Feet Under. HBO was The Wire was just like this redheaded stepchild.
And
at
what
the time.
show, what network was that on?
HBO.
HBO. Kept it for 5 years, Tom. I mean, that's big.
Yeah, with David doing some sort of magic, keeping it.
Well, magic.
Because it
but
didn't pick up a fan base till later on.
It didn't.
Yeah, it became.
I know people who they're like insane about that show.
It's different. It's a very socially conscious show.
Yeah.
You watch that show now, and there's things that from that show that are resonating now, as much as they did then.
You think you could
They're
have
there now.
done that show now with the political correctness? You think so?
Absolutely, because it speaks to all that.
It speaks to that.
It
Wow.
speaks to all that. I think a lot more. It would have been more noticeable and have a bigger audience now than it did back then.
Wow.
I remember it would be the hiatus of the second season going into the third season, going into the fourth season,
Right.
going to LA, trying to get a movie during the hiatus, because we didn't know whether this show was getting picked up. It was that bad.
Each year.
We
Wow.
did not know, or you didn't know if your character was coming back.
Because you could be
You
killed
read,
off.
and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't die.
I'm coming
All right.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't die.
Yeah, I didn't die.
I didn't
Every
die.
episode, you don't know with David, and because there was no room for hope
Right.
on that show.
Right.
Anybody who kind of represented hope, they didn't make it 5 seasons. My character was such a bad guy.
So it was okay with
Yeah,
you.
so let's keep him.
Let's keep. He's a bad guy.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
it.
keep him.
Yeah. 'Cause
Bad. There's always bad.
Controversial.
Yeah,
Controversial. Keep him.
and
Keep him. So that's when you really felt, all right. I keep-
David and all those. They gave me that opportunity. Then I got to work with David 2 times. You know,
What else
on the
did you do?
Deuce,
on the yeah.
and we owned the city.
We own the city.
Yeah,
Wow,
got to
that's
play.
great.
So I got to play with him, and Baltimore's like, I still have friends there
In Baltimore.
that I talk to. It was like my second home.
You probably go there when you go there.
when
you
I
know
when I
everybody.
can,
Yeah,
I
now-
haven't been there in a while, but yeah,
There's so many
I
great
have a
things.
lot of
Tell
love for
us.
there.
I want to get to what do you got coming out now? What could we look for?
I did a film for Netflix with the great director Grant Singer. It's a film with Benicio del Toro for Netflix and Black Label Productions. There, that should be coming out maybe sometime in
What is the name of the
23.
film?
Reptile.
Reptile. I love Benicio. I work with him. And
He's
a
phenomenal.
suspect. Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And I just wrapped up Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone
Tulsa King.
for Paramount Plus.
Now, are you a regular on that?
Well, for the first season, I
For
was.
the first season? Well, that's great.
Yeah. Who knows?
That's
New
fantastic.
show.
Sly is great.
Slight.
Let me tell you, Sly is great. I love Sly. Always did. Always have.
Yeah.
Always spoke highly of him.
Yes.
You know.
He's talk about a work ethic.
Forget it. The
Another
biggest-
level.
You know, people, when he first came out, people like, Adrian, and all that. Let me tell you something.
Smartest guy in the room.
Smartest guy in the room every time.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Yes.
Not only that, I'm going to tell you something about Sly. People go, the man, he makes the same movie or whatever. The man invented sequels. He invented them. You think it's easy to make a sequel? How many sequels suck? I can name a few that are great. Godfather. Okay, that's great. Okay.
Then you got to go to Rocky.
Then you got to go to Rocky.
You got to go to Rambo.
You got to go to Rambo. First Blood. I mean, the guy just is a machine.
When I was working with him, and you do the scene, and then we got to fix this fucking camera, or we got to do that, or whatever. And I just look at him, and I just think of this guy who constantly is dealing with obstacles.
Yes.
And gets around obstacles, whether it be dyslexia, whether it be Rocky living in a car,
right?
Have to sell your dog,
right?
This being not being bankable for like 10 years,
right?
Or whatever, and then coming back and then doing these movies that are like blockbusters.
He's
again.
amazing. Expendables.
The guy is just
wait a minute. Expendables. Another sequel.
And he's a writer. Here's the thing with Sly too. He could do everybody's job.
He could do everybody's job. Absolutely.
He could do everybody's
Smartest
job.
guy in the room. In fact, you know what? I got to get Sly on the show. I got to get him on this show.
And I want to go back to that because I learned a big difference. I had a great conversation with when I was shooting The Irishman. We had downtime. I'm sitting with Joe Pesci.
Right.
And we're talking about, I forgot who we're talking about, like directors.
Right.
I was fascinated. I loved his performance in JFK.
Yes, it was great.
Right? So we started talking. I was like, Oliver Stone, great director.
Yeah.
Marty, great director. He goes, no. Marty's a filmmaker. Big difference.
Oh, okay.
Big difference. Marty could do everybody's job.
Right.
He's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, that's interesting.
You know what? You're right. I actually commented on your Instagram because I believe at one point, correct me if I'm right or wrong, that was a topic of conversation here.
Yeah.
Early on.
About directing.
Directing and filmmaking.
And
Directors
yes,
and filmmakers.
And filmmakers. Marty's a wonderful actor. Marty was supposed to play the priest in Bronx Tale,
Was he?
That's right. Because Marty wanted to be a priest. He was going to be a priest. Bob told me. And Bob asked Marty.
Yeah, he was. He went to the seminary.
He went to the seminary. And Bob asked Marty to be the priest. But I think because of schedules or something, Marty couldn't do it. But I remember that.
You see it in his work.
Oh, you've seen it in his work about God and righteousness,
the religious undertones.
The religious undertone.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
Look at Mean Streets. Come on. The character of Harvey Keitel with the God and the cross. I mean, that's all that symbolism.
I'm not sure if you're a fan of this film, but I am.
Yeah.
If you watch The Departed again.
Oh, yes. Big fan.
Look at all the symbolisms in that movie. It's reminiscent of The Third Man.
Yes. Yes.
The end.
Yes.
People walking through an X, and the next thing you know, they die. I mean,
I thought Marty should have won.
It's encryptive,
I thought Marty should have won an Academy Award way before The Departed on Raging Bull. I'm sorry, Raging Bull. Do you know what beat Raging Bull out? Ordinary People. Ordinary People.
Which is a great film.
Great film.
But not a Raging Bull.
It's not a film for the ages.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's not that. It's not a film where there was voted best show of the decade, best film of the decade. I'm sorry. It's not. Great film, but not Raging Bull. I always said it, Raging Bull, the greatest performance ever made on film by an actor, Robert De Niro.
Think of the things that movie introduced.
Yes.
Think of we wouldn't have a Joe Pesci if
wouldn't
there
have a
wasn't
Joe
a Raging
Pesci.
Bull. He was out of the business.
He was out.
He was disgruntled.
Bob saw him in a little movie.
Right, and he called him at Amici's. I worked at Amici's.
That's right. And you worked at Amici's.
I was a busboy at Amici's.
Wow. You must have served me. I remember that.
Yeah, and
right.
And
wow,
the sound effects with the animals.
Oh my God!
Cutting the ring off, which he probably got from Sidney Lumet from 12 Angry Men. How you could, everything with lenses and stuff.
But
You know,
Marty
you could
always says he always gives credit to other people where he
Always.
always gives credit.
He's
because
like Frank Sinatra,
it's like Frank said. You take other things and you make it your own, and Marty does that.
composer and songwriter.
Composer, songwriter. He always and I myself. You get an idea. Bob is the one who taught me. Bob always said to me, "It takes just as much talent to recognize a great idea as it is to come up with it yourself."
Yeah,
So a lot of people get threatened by that, but the great directors take great
that's
ideas.
ego.
That's ego.
That's ego.
But the great directors.
There's also go ahead. I don't
Oh,
wanna
go ahead.
interrupt
Go
you.
ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Going back to it had to do with Joe, but it'll come back to me. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but I just want to say it's been really great having you here.
Yeah.
You're just terrific. I am so happy that you were able to come. I know your schedule's crazy, but you got all these great things coming out. You got to watch this guy. This guy is just phenomenal. He really is. And here's a guy showed up when he was 15, got the part, and that's how you become successful. You got to show up, folks. Please. In fact, I'm going to remind you to show up October 1st. Boy,
That was great.
was that a good... October 1st.
That was smooth.
I was smooth. At the Town Hall in Manhattan, 123 West 43rd Street. I'm going to be doing the show. I know you're out in Atlanta. You're doing a movie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have some people from the Bronx Tale cast there. And it's going to be a fun night. A Q&A afterwards, October 1st, Town Hall. Come to see the show. First time at Q&A in 34 years.
Wow.
God bless you all. Dom, you are a gentleman
Oh.
and a great, great actor. But more important, you're a great man. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
So are you, Chazz. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.